What's happening, people? And once again, welcome back to CubCamTV for this, something slightly different. You may be noticing a slightly different format in the way things look, but yes, we are going to be getting into an official album review today here on the channel. We're trying out things a little bit differently, and we're trying to stay up to date with as much new content as we can. And today, I'm very excited to be jumping into this long-awaited album, Catch Me If You Can, from Adekunle Gold. We've reviewed a couple of the tracks off the album on the channel already. Again, I'm really excited to dive straight into this. Again, it's an album I was really looking forward to. It's an album that I feel, in a way, very much summarizes who the artist is, which at the end of the day is the point of an album. You're supposed to get an experience of what the artist is, what they represent, and where they tend to want to go sonically. It features 14 tracks in total and a ton of vocal features, which we're going to dive into when we get into the actual track listing, and it's a seriously exciting project to dive into, both from a kind of first-time listener's perspective and someone who's been following Adekunle for a hot minute. Around this album as well, you can expect a ton of content coming to the channel. We're going to be getting into a very interesting new collaborative series with Just Vibes in a couple of days' time. We're going to be recording that very soon, and you're going to see that on the channel as well. We're going to do something a little bit different, which I'm very excited for. And again, I have got a script in front of me for this one because I have gone through, made my notes on the album. I don't want to do it off the top of my head, so if you see me looking at a screen, I'm referring to my notes, that's why. But yeah, the first thing we do notice about the album is the concept of unity and cohesion within the production. It definitely feels like this is a project that was built to sound like one singular experience. Although there are standout moments and standout singles, I'd actually say the majority of the tracks that were released as singles prior to the album actually launching are the ones that sound the most different from the rest of the track listing. It does have a real sense of unity, though, a real sense of uniformity with that feeling of cohesion, and there's some really cool production credits on there, the likes of Sayafumi, DeVeo, you've got some rhymes on there, Leka, TMXO, Tay Iwa's involved, Blaze Beats, Cali, Q Beats, and Spax all taking production credits on this one, so it's a very highly ranked list of names. We also hear as well a bag of Samey getting involved on additional vocals, which I absolutely love to see. Obviously the two are so kind of closely linked musically and of course in their day-to-day lives. This was always going to be the case, and I think it's a really cool thing to be able to see. Obviously she pops up in the Sinner video, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, and she provides backing vocals on Mercy as well. But yeah, looking through the introduction to the project, jumping straight into the track listing, we do open up with a shorter track alongside Fatimata Diawara. It launches off the project as the first collaborative experience, and it applies some vocal backing over which Adekunle lets loose a seriously smooth sense of storytelling and self-appreciation. Again, backed by a really floaty sounding instrumental. There's something very cool about starting the album off in this sort of style. I do really like the way the track comes together. Again, it goes by the name Born Again, and it's something a little bit different, something a little bit more outside the box, which again is somewhat of a rarity on this album. I need to stress how strong that feeling of kind of cohesion is throughout the actual album itself. Again, I really enjoyed listening to it, but again, we may have a point to make on that a little bit later on. Next then, we roll into the percussive clicks, and again, very spacey textures of a track entitled Win, which allows Adekunle to explore a number of different kind of vocal techniques and vocal melodies that we very much do enjoy listening through. It links up a load of different cool instrumental themes as well. There's a solid theme on this one about things remaining spacey and remaining sparse, whilst also kind of moving with this idea of complexity. It's a really kind of cool way of doing things. Loads of different instruments doing maybe one or two notes, everything tying together, and it gives the whole track a very enjoyable feel. Samey follows this as well, with another smooth compositional value. Again, you're seeing the same sort of descriptive phrases being used. And again, I like to think this isn't down to a lack of language on my behalf. There's just a real sense of similarity throughout the majority of the project. It gives the first three tracks a really solid sense of cohesion again, and this is where the intensity starts to build for the project. Very enjoyable arrangement on this one, again, laced with some very nice kind of harmonic phrasing, and again, pad textures running wild. We do get to explore hearing Adekunle's vocal as something a little bit different on this one as well, which I really enjoy. But from here, we then jump into one of the main events, shall we say, one of the tracks that wasn't released prior, one of the few collaborations actually that we were quite surprised to see. It goes by the name One Woman alongside Ty Dolla $ign, and again, this one is one of the more unheard tracks prior, but I feel this is going to be one of the standout drops from the project now it's actually landed. Really tidy arrangement. We get to hear Adekunle in his bag on this one. And again, I've got to say, Ty Dolla $ign provides the perfect vocal line. He really understands the assignment. He understands what's needed, and he provides it. A really cool collaboration, one that I'd have been a little bit worried about to begin with, but definitely a tune that I enjoyed listening to when we actually got into it. And definitely one that I think is going to do a lot in regards to kind of streaming numbers. Obviously, Ty Dolla $ign is one of the biggest rappers in the world, especially when it comes to actual numbers that he's doing on tunes. So this is a link up that makes a lot of sense for Adekunle, and it does add to the album. It's not just there for the sake of collaboration. It's a collaboration that makes sense sonically, which is really important from a listening perspective, in my honest opinion. The project's sort of lead single then, or at least the lead single that was put out there after the album was announced, obviously goes by the name Mercy. You can check out our full breakdown of this one on the channel, so I don't want to kind of repeat themes. Obviously, we have broken this track down before, but I feel this is a track that really does embody what the album is all about, from the sonic arrangements to the vocal melodies. Again, hearing Samey's vocals kind of worked in there as well. It definitely gives off this feeling of this is where almost like the album felt like it started. I heard that this might have been the first tune that was recorded on the project. Again, I may be making that up. I'm not entirely sure. I seem to have it in the back of my head that that's a thing that happened. Again, really, really cool tune. Sinner then follows alongside Lucky Day, which again for me is one of the most beautiful tracks of 2021. This is something I've said a fair few times on this channel. I said it on the Just Vibes Music Awards as well. There's an intimate video with this one. Obviously, Adekunle and Samey just kind of showing the love they have for each other, which is beautiful to see. And again, there's this almost Japanese-sounding string line that runs throughout the heart of this one. Sounds absolutely beautiful. Almost reminds me a little bit of the live performance of Earned It by The Weeknd from the Super Bowl. If you go and listen to that live performance, it's a very similar sounding string instrument, and it just has this really emotive texture to it, which works really, really nicely. Again, we're running through the tracks individually at the moment. We'll get into a kind of overall roundup of what I thought of the project towards the end, but we do have a major switch up next as Steph London arrives for Fi. An absolute showstopper of a track for me. Again, one of the real highlights, and possibly my favourite of the new addition, so tracks we hadn't heard previously. Has a very sultry sounding instrumental, and it allows Stefflon and Adekunle to provide a smooth R&B sort of feel to this one. Again, both of them are very heavy hitting, and it works. Again, it's a collaboration that I could see making sense as soon as I saw the track listing. This was the track I was most excited for, and also a track that I wasn't disappointed with when I actually heard the final product. Again, fantastic stuff from both people involved on this one. Following this, we then jump into Sleep, which sees Adekunle focus on vocal harmonies over the top of an almost drumless backdrop, showcasing the more delicate side of his vocal range with some flavoursome performance factors in there. It's a really, really kind of cool bridging tune between two collaborations, because following this, we do get into High, which is obviously a track that for me reads no introduction, to be honest with you. Needs no introduction. It's one of the biggest tracks of 2021, obviously alongside Davido. A massive collaboration, and again, I'll leave the link to our reaction to that one in the description down below, so you can check out a full breakdown. I want to focus this on the tracks we haven't heard already. Again, everything we have already reacted to, I will leave a description link to, so you can check out those reactions individually. But following on from this, we get into the beautifully arranged sounds of Dior alongside Fushi, who is brought into the mix with a much more up-tempo arrangement, doused in gorgeous saxophony and smooth vocal displays from start to finish. It's all pushed forward by this really kind of cool bubbling, almost needling bass line that just warbles away in the low end. The whole track just kind of vibrates around that low end, and it works really nicely. Again, a collaboration that makes sense. A solid theme of this project is that all the collaborations are there for a reason. They're not just there for names, or at least if they are names that have done the job correctly. It's a very well composed overall project, this one, I've got to say, and it was really enjoyable to actually sit down and listen through it in its entirety. It Is What It Is then follows, again, one of the previously released singles, and a track that we've heard 1,000 times. We know this one like the back of our hand at this point, but it is a massive tune, obviously one of Adekunle's biggest releases of recent times, and it sits very nicely amongst the arrangement for the rest of this album. And then finally, two more originals. Firstly, Seller, a really cool kind of extra kind of douse of energy towards the end of this project. It arrives with a smoothly designed backdrop of kind of clunking percussive rhythms and subtle guitar solos, which Adekunle brings to life with a tidy string of vocal inflections. You can really hear the emotion in his vocal on this one, which works really, really nicely. And then the final track, the title track for the project, Catch Me If You Can. It's doused in really nice harmonic flavors, this one, and it rounds off with a potent voice note celebrating Adekunle's success in recent times, and obviously the potential success of this album, which I feel to an extent so far, has been somewhat undervalued. I can't lie. I've seen a lot of people kind of talking about the album. There was a really cool launch party in the UK, but there aren't that many people going crazy over it. I have two theories as to why this is. I think there is definitely a potential case for the album sounding a bit too cohesive. Again, it's a theme I mentioned very much throughout. You probably noticed a lot of the descriptive phrasing I was using is very similar. All of the tracks kind of build a similar picture sonically in the way they're put together, whether it be instrumentation or rhythms. Nothing seems to really leap outside the box apart from potentially High and Sinner. They're the two tunes that really stand out as something slightly different. The rest feels like it has been designed as one sort of long play, one extended kind of project, which again works. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I can understand the hype not necessarily being there because it doesn't cover enough ground potentially, and the tracks that do kind of break out of that central mold that we feel the album working on have already been released. So that might be a bit of an issue, but again, overall, I genuinely did enjoy the project. I think it's a solid showcasing of what Adekunle Gold can do, and I think it's a really good showcasing of where Adekunle Gold is at musically as well. I think these are all tracks that we're going to hear in different locations. There's going to be some really cool sync opportunities for these as well, and it'd be an album that I'd really like to see performed live. This is a project that I feel would work well for a tour. Like specifically, this is the tour of this album. I definitely can see that working for me. The highlights, again, if we're looking through the entire track listing, probably Sinner, Fi, and Seller, potentially Mercy on there as well, just because of what the tune represents as an overall arrangement. But there we go. I did enjoy breaking this one down. Again, I've got about 4 pages of notes in front of me, so apologies if I'm looking at them. I just want to make sure that we're getting the points that I wrote down out there. But there we go, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this album review. I most certainly did, and you can see the track listing to my left. I believe it's going to come up on the screen. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, please make sure you are getting involved with the channel by hitting that subscribe button on the left-hand side of the page, turning notifications on, leaving a like, leaving a comment, and all of that good stuff. And we shall see you all next time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and peace.
Sounding so good right now. But they're sounding a bright and town.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, CubCamTV. Stay locked.